Do you ever find yourself struggling with the identity of being an author and being a business person? Do you juggle them? Do you integrate them? Do you favor one over the other? That's what I'm going to be talking about in today's episode. So stay tuned.
Are you an entrepreneur, small business owner, or consultant looking to boost your authority, influence, and impact? The Author Switch podcast with best-selling, award-winning author Carma Spence is your answer. Tune in for actionable advice, powerful strategies, and engaging interviews to turn on your author switch and take your business to the next dimension.
The Author Switch.
Hi, welcome back to the Author Switch. My name is Carma Spence, and I help entrepreneurs write a lead and client attracting book in 90 days or less. And today I'm going to be talking about the whole idea, the identity crisis of being an entrepreneurial author. Maybe one day you're an author and one day you're a business person, or maybe you're juggling both in the same day. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks for integrating those two identities into you. So, first, let's talk about what these identities are. First, you've got the writer author identity. Now, this is one I easily identify with because I've been a writer since I was a toddler. I love writing, it's just who I am, it's how I express myself. So, I understand if that's what you favor. If that's not what you favor, I also get that because writing is both a skill and a calling. And the calling part is just that's what makes you like a born writer, but you're not born a good writer. I'm just gonna say that. You're not born a good writer. You're born with a like a predilection toward writing, and that was me. But I also had the entrepreneurial bug. Even as a young child, I was doing entrepreneurial things. I remember one time, this is gonna date me, but my dad gave me some ditto paper. And so I created a newsletter, and my dad went to work and he made a bunch of dittos, and I stapled them together and I went around my neighborhood selling them, selling the newsletter that I had dittoed. I made a lot of money, well, for a kid. And then I bought lots of candy and got in big trouble, big trouble, because I wasn't supposed to be eating that much candy. But anyway, it's like there it was. I was actually merging my desire to write and my desire to be an entrepreneur at once, and I didn't even know those 2 terms existed at the time. So, the writer identity is the one who, like, comes up with the outlines and writes the books and markets the books. Actually, probably doesn't, probably just writes the books and gets it out. The business person, that's the person that markets the books and builds a business around the book. How do you integrate those 2? Do you find yourself having those 2 identities conflict? I mean, does the author part of you wanna run off and be creative and write and forget about all that marketing stuff? And does the business person go, "Come on, we gotta do production, you gotta get it published, stop being so creative?" Maybe that does go around in your head, or maybe that's just me. So, what you need to do is you need to balance those priorities. And balance those priorities because even if you're an author first, if you're just writing books to put the word author next to your name, why are you listening to this podcast, first of all? Because if that's all you want to do, it doesn't matter whether you make money. You're just going to publish books and doesn't matter if anyone reads them. But if you are writing books so that you can grow a business, you need to be both the bean counter and the creative person simultaneously. So, how do you navigate this? There are lots of ways you can navigate this. One is to literally think of them as two separate hats and have like rituals for when you're putting on one hat or the other. But I'm going to suggest that you do something different. Rather than being an author who happens to also do business or being a business owner who also happens to have a book, I'm going to invite you to be an authorpreneur or an authorneer. That's my term. And integrate the two identities into you. All right. So let's talk a little bit about some strategies for harmonizing these two sides of your business, because that's really what it is. A book is a side of your business. First of all, if you're seeing the roles as separate, you can work on integrating them into a coherent identity. And you do this by redefining what these roles mean. They are two sides of the same coin, your business coin. One side is author, one side is business person, and you can't have half a coin because even half a coin still has two sides. Then let's take a look at your values. You want to align your books and your business with your values. If you do not know what your values are, I do have a free values assessment tool, and I will put that in the show notes that you can get that. That's free. I just asked for your email address. And it helps you identify your top 3 values. And what you can do is once you understand what your values are, you integrate them into your authorness and you integrate them into your business personness and have everything in your business, whether it's your book or some other aspect of your business, align with your values. It's much easier to integrate the 2 sides of yourself if both sides are going for the same values. Now, while you're navigating this and integrating, you may need to set aside moments where you're 100% author and 100% business person. And to make that transition easier, create role transition rituals. Something that you do that tells your subconscious, I am now stepping into my author role, or I am now stepping into my business person role. And they can be simple, small things. They can be picking up your favorite pen. It could be that you have a different, maybe you sit on this side of your desk when you're an author, and you sit on this side of your desk when you're a business person. And maybe you sit in the middle when you're being both. It could be something as simple as that, but it's some form of little ritual that you do when you want to switch roles. All right. So the next strategy for harmonizing your creativity and your commerce is narrative reframing. Tell yourself a different story. Rather than telling yourself the story of my business person is fighting with my author person and my author person is fighting with my business person, or whatever story it is you're telling, reframe it. You're an entrepreneur. You need the talents and creativity of your author side, as well as the business savvy, the commerce savvy of your business side. They are both part of who you are. You are not two people, you're one. Another strategy is to develop skills that both sides use. So, for example, time management, clear communication, audience engagement. All 3 of these skills are valuable to both the author and the business person. Develop them with both sides of you in mind. So that's sort of the dichotomy you're living with as an author and a business person, and some strategies for integrating those. After the break, I will be talking a little bit about building a brand that reflects both worlds.
The future of entrepreneurial book writing has arrived. In an age where information moves at the speed of light and innovation is a business requirement, one book stands as the North Star for the authors of tomorrow. In You Can Make It to the Finish Line, Carma Spence decodes the mysteries of writing a book that markets your business, offering a blueprint to navigate the frontiers of writing, editing, and publishing. With accessible techniques and visionary insight, this guide propels you forward so that your expertise can transform into impact. Step into your future, transform your vision into a legacy. You can make it to the finish line, where your author's journey meets the future. Available now on Amazon.
Hello, and welcome back to the Author Switch podcast. My name is Carma Spence, and I help entrepreneurs write a lead or client attracting book in 90 days or less. Before the break, I talked about the idea of this dichotomy of author and business person and how you can integrate it. I gave you several strategies for integrating these two sides of yourself into one authorpreneur or authorneer identity. Now, once you've kind of got that going, your subconscious, your conscious, you're on board, you're both, and you're integrated and you're whole. Now you need a brand that reflects both worlds. So here are some ideas to help you do that. Start off with the core elements. Understanding who you are as an author and a business person and what your core values are. I mentioned before the break that I have a core values exercise that is free. All you need to do is give me your email address. I will drop a link to that in the show notes so you can get that and help you identify your top three values. And then once you've kind of reflected a little bit to really understand your values and how they are expressed through your books and through your business, now you can come up with your unique value proposition, one that communicates what is special and unique and amazing about your book infused business. Then you want to develop coherent brand messaging so that no matter what you're talking about in your business, whether it's your books or your podcast or your videos or your speaking or your coaching, whatever it is you do in your business, no matter what, you've got a consistent message that flows through it all and is expressed with the same voice and tone, regardless of where you're talking about it, what you're talking about. And that needs to spread through all channels. That's on social media, that's on your website. It all should be coherent. Once you've got the messaging down, that's when you get into the visual branding, picking out the colors and the fonts and the logo and all that so that it communicates also that message that you're communicating. The visual brand should also communicate that message. And then here's where it can get a little scary for some people, and that's just being transparent and authentic. Be honest about your struggles in balancing the two sides, or maybe in your successes. Share your journey. Your journey is what attracts your unique clients. Your journey is both a magnet and an inspirational lighthouse to your clients because, and I've said this somewhere before, I don't remember where it was, but your journey is unique to you, but it has a universal message. And that universal message is what your ideal clients tap into. They go, yeah, I get it. And they won't get it if you're not sharing your journey. And from there, you want to engage and communicate with your audience. Be interactive with your various platforms and be involved in your community. Build a community around your brand. And then you want to leverage your content. When you have a book, you have lots of content that you can leverage over and over into videos, into social posts, into podcast episodes, into speaking gigs, and diversify the formats that your content is available in. It can be available in just as a book, it can be available in paperback, hardcover, e audiobook, 4 formats. You can also create videos. In fact, I'm gonna be recording audiobook versions of the ebooks coming out this year, and I plan to videotape me doing the audio so that I can use the video in my marketing or even as social posts and so on. So, diversify how your information is delivered to your potential clients because your potential clients have different learning styles and you want to reach them in their favorite learning style. That's why you diversify the formats that you offer your content. Let's look into the future of entrepreneurship. I believe that there's going to be a lot more technology integration. There are more and more digital tools being available that can help you be a better author. AI is one of them, and AI is infused into almost all the tools that you're using these days. If you're using Word and use the editor function, that's AI. Use Grammarly, that's AI. If you're using ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini to help you come up with ideas for your content, AI. But there's other tools that are gonna be, I mean, we've got, and I'm really excited about virtual reality. is not that far away. And what can you do with virtual reality to expand your book into other dimensions, really, honestly? And then, of course, like I said, with the formats with books, they don't have to be paperback and hardcover anymore. They can be ebooks, they can be audiobooks, they can probably be video books. I bet that's around the corner too, video books. Then there are different publishing models. The traditional publishing model is running scared. The big publishers are consolidating, and they're consolidating because they can't make it alone because a lot of authors are choosing not to go the traditional route. They're going directly to their readers, either through Amazon or through their own websites. You've got tons of hybrid publishing models that are like part traditional and part print on demand, part self-publishing. And there's different models of that. There's some where you do most of the work, there's some where they do most of the work. Different models, find the ones that work for you and experiment. And like I said, there's also building direct relationship with your readers and selling books directly to them through your website and through other stuff like Substack, Patreon. These are all ways to get your book out. Medium is another medium. And then there's personal branding. You're going to need to think about what part of your personal brand, how does your personal brand get expressed in all these different mediums? Augmented reality, virtual reality, who knows where this is all going to go? You want to diversify your revenue streams. Don't just depend on one way of making money. So go beyond the book. Even if you are an author centric, author first, authorpreneur, go beyond the book. Think, what can you spin your books into? Can they be workbooks? Can they be workshops? Can they be webinars? Can they be video programs? Can they be audio programs? Can they be all sorts of things? Can you, once virtual reality becomes easily, can they become a virtual experience? Then, of course, as the world gets smaller, your book can reach around the world. So think about that. How can you get it into more people's hands? Maybe you can have it translated into other languages or, hey, Braille. Why not? And think about the social impact that your book can have and be responsible for that. And of course, you're going to always need to keep in mind, because as these new technologies come through, you're always going to need to keep in mind regulations and copyrights. There's this new trend coming out that's counterfeiting books. There are people out there who are counterfeiting books and selling them on Amazon. An author has recently sued Amazon because Amazon's basically profiting from these counterfeit books. And that's not right. That's not right. So keep these things in mind. There's going to be new ways to address these issues. And let's gather together as an entrepreneur community and watch out for each other, because we're a community. There you go. That's all I've got for you today. Next week, I will have a special guest and we'll be talking about how to be unstoppable. His name is Corey. I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce his last name. He has interviewed thousands of thought leaders and has recently written a book that coalesces the information about what are the mindsets that makes you a thought leader and an influencer. And so we're going to be talking about those mindsets and how that brings everything together, and can you harness those mindsets to be an influence yourself. That's it for now. This is Carma Spence saying ciao for now.
If you've enjoyed this episode of the Author Switch podcast and would like to show your support, there are a few ways that you can do that. First, I encourage you to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Additionally, leaving a rating and review would greatly help me reach more listeners and continue providing valuable content. To stay up to date with the Author Switch podcast and gain access to additional information on amplifying your authority, influence, and thought leadership through books, you can follow me on LinkedIn at Carma Spence. For those interested in catching up on previous episodes, including those no longer available on podcast platforms, you can find them all at authorswitch.com/episodes. where you can choose to watch or listen to them at your convenience. Thank you so much for your support and for being a part of the Author Switch community. If you've enjoyed this episode of the Author Switch podcast and would like to show your support, there are a few ways that you can do that. First, I encourage you to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Additionally, leaving a rating and review would greatly help me reach more listeners and continue providing valuable content. To stay up to date with the Author Switch podcast and gain access to additional information on amplifying your authority, influence, and thought leadership through books, you can follow me on LinkedIn at Carma Spence. For those interested in catching up on previous episodes, including those no longer available on podcast platforms, you can find them all at authorswitch.com/episodes, where you can choose to watch or listen to them at your convenience. Thank you so much for your support and for being a part of the Author Switch community.